the scheduled city council meeting for May 2022.
Wait till I have your key if you look.
If you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Y'all be seated. Madam Clerk, you can call the roll, please.
Councillor Bouchard. Here. Mayor Boulay.
Here.
Councillor Brown. Here. Councillor Champlin.
Here.
Councillor Fennessy.
Excused.
Councillor Grady Sexton. Here. Councillor Keach.
Here.
Councillor Kredovic.
She's excused.
Councillor Mattson.
Here.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councillor McNamara.
Here.
Councillor Nyan.
Present.
Councillor Pierce.
Here.
Councillor Rice-Hooking. Here. And Councillor Dodd.
Here. Good evening, welcome. Good to see everybody. We do have the minutes before us for April 11th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
Motion made second to approve the minutes of April 11th, 2022. Any changes, suggestions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and the ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. It's always fun to start off with something really nice. It is my pleasure to recognize the services of Craig Walker.
Here.
Neighbor, would you come join us?
Oh, you get me front and center.
Yeah. Right here in the cockpit.
So before I read this, I want to tell a quick story. So we have a retirement party. Greg retires. I'm out there shoveling one morning. This truck pulls up alongside me, unrolls the window, leans over and goes, "Hey, I'm going skiing. Enjoy the shovel."
This is what a retired city employee looks like.
So we have resolution 9446 in the year of our Lord 2022, resolution in recognition of the services of Craig Walker. And the City of Concord resolves as follows. Whereas Craig Walker joined the City of Concord's General Services Department in September 1989 as a maintenance aide and was subsequently promoted to senior maintenance aide in July 1990 and to senior engineering aide in June 1992. And whereas Craig went on to be an integral part, or a member of the Community Development Department, first as a code inspector in February 2001 and subsequently as a city zoning administrator in December of 2007. And whereas Craig Walker worked tirelessly to assist property owners, residents, and developers understand the city's zoning ordinance and served as the city's representative to the Zoning Board of Adjustment from 2007 until his retirement. And whereas Craig's retired from the City of Concord on August 31st, 2021, after 32 years of service. Now therefore be resolved that by the Mayor and members of this Concord City Council that we hereby record our appreciation for the many years of our service of Craig Walker to the City of Concord, our esteem for his ability and professionalism, commitment, and for our respect for his integrity and high character. Be it further resolved that we hereby acknowledge that the service and the presence of Craig Walker will be truly missed by the City Council, the City Administration, his peers, and Community Development Department, and the entire Concord community. And we will extend our best wishes to him during his well-deserved retirement. Passed in City Council April 11th, 2022, signed by myself. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's a long time. You guys? Thanks for all your help.
Thank you so much.
It was a great 32 years. It was a fun job and very entertaining. I see a few faces that entertain me along the way.
Well, let me just say what's not on the plaque, and that is our sincere appreciation for really, truly everything you've done. It's you were able to take something that most people look at and just go, "What do you want me to do?" and actually help citizens to be able to do so many things that they want to be able to do and enjoy the City of Concord. And that means a whole lot when you become the face of the city and you become the interaction. And I'm really greatly appreciative of the fact that you're willing to shovel my driveway in your retirement. Thank you. Thank you again. We also have this evening our friend Paul Lloyd from New Hampshire State Veterans Advisory Committee, who is going to share and give a presentation. Good evening and welcome, sir.
Good evening. I am here to ask that the council approve the city to be recognized as a Purple Heart community. The purpose of the Purple Heart community is to create a tribute to the men and women who have been awarded the Purple Heart Medal. With the presence of the signs designating our city as a Purple Heart community, the public will have a visual reminder of the sacrifices paid by the Purple Heart recipients and a notice that our city supports the military heroes who have made sacrifices for the way of life of all of our residents enjoy. I also have 6 spots that we have recommended that the signs be put up. I also sent out a sample proclamation for not only the Purple Heart City, but also for Purple Heart Recipient Day, which is August 7th, and maybe we could do the unveiling, if it's approved, around that time.
Great.
I would like to remind everybody that we already have donations, so the cost will not, the city will not foot the bill. So.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Lloyd? All right, well, thank you very much for being here tonight. We would say, so are you comfortable?
I am, and I'm glad to work with Paul, and we've worked on other projects in the past, and I think this would be great for the city.
Great. Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
I love the fact that you said it won't cost nothing because you remind me all the time. Jim, it's my taxes. Okay, can I get a motion then?
So moved.
So moved, second to move this, seconded. With that, we'll instruct the manager to work with Mr. Lloyd on the resolution as well as the signs and the placement, and I suspect we'll see you back next August. With that, everybody clear? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, appreciate all the input.
Thank you.
That takes us to presentation by the Police Department and H.L. Turner Group regarding the Concord Police Department space analysis.
We are gonna need I got a flash drive.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Well, I think we claim that.
How you doing? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Close enough.
All right, so, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city manager, thank you for inviting us. I know that the council has had a presentation from the library not too long ago and the fire department, so here's one from the police department. Doug Proctor from H.L. Turner, Jerry Blanchett from H.L. Turner will also speak tonight. So I just wanted to start, as we get this presentation set up, kind of give the council a history of the police headquarters here in Concord, which is right next door, 35 Green Street. The construction on that facility began in 1973, and move-in took place in the fall of 1975. In 1975, in June of 1975, the city of Concord hired David Walczek as the chief of police. After touring the nearly completed construction of the facility, he expressed some concerns. In July of 1975, the city of Concord contracted the National Clearinghouse of Criminal Justice Planning and Architecture to provide an analysis of the project and to make recommendations. The contractor spent 2 days in July 1975 reviewing the new construction. The city team was comprised of Chief Walczak, his 2 captains, the city manager at the time, and the assistant city manager. The project manager for the clearinghouse reported several conclusions. They indicated that the interior design and layout of the new facility were not aligned with modern management, organization, and training ideas. They indicated that there would be an inability to implement plans for proactive police facility operations and programs. They identified an inadequate public lobby, insufficient space for juvenile operations, inappropriate visual control of lobby by the dispatchers, lack of space for future programs, personnel, equipment, potentially dangerous ingress-egress solutions with cross-purpose internal traffic corridors. They recommended an immediate need to have an architectural study of how prisoners, juveniles, staff, and public will use, enter, and leave the building or encounter one another in the hallways. It was recommended, again, this is 1975, that an architectural solution was needed for the rear parking lot as the lot size was insufficient. They identified security issues with the rear parking lot and suggested that fencing might help this solution. They indicated that the use of the building by the public and public parking were issues that needed to be solved. They recommended adding a 3rd floor to the facility and projected that vehicle maintenance area would drive that need in just 5 years. At the time, it was only a 2-story building. They recommended that construction stop and go back to the planning process. They recommended a restudy of the ingress-egress solutions. They considered the vehicle maintenance area be used for operations until a 3rd floor was constructed. In 1978, after they moved in to the 2-story building, the National Clearinghouse for Criminal Justice Planning and Architecture came back to Concord to do a feasibility study about adding a 3rd floor. They noted that the patrol area was basically one space consisting of a squad room, locker room, lounge, and report writing area. There was no physical exercise room or separate area for female patrol officers. They noted that having to bring arrestees up and down stairs is a dangerous arrangement. They noted that the addition of the 3rd floor of the facility would be at a minimum adequacy by 1990. They indicated that by the year 2000, the facility needs would be 26,000 to 31,500 square feet and would need to consider acquisition of adjacent properties or construction of a new police facility by the year 2000. In 1978, the total sworn and unsworn staff was 74. Today, it is roughly 118. In 1985, the 3rd floor was added, and roughly half of that space was occupied by fire administration. In 2001, fire administration was relocated to their existing space next to Central Fire. The council approved the police department and the CIP during COVID for us to do a space study analysis of the police department, and we solicited H.L. Turner to do that study, and that was completed last year, and they're here today to offer some insight on what they found.
Great, thank you.
Mayor Boulay and members of the City Council, my name is Jerry Blanchett. I'm president of the H.L. Turner Group, and just to start this discussion, the whole genesis when the chief contacted us was to see if the police department can get accredited through a national organization for their current facility. And so, having done that, one of the first items of business for us was to do an evaluation of the existing building. And so we looked at multiple components of the building, and those that need the most attention are starting with the site of the building itself. Next slide, please, Doug. So the Existing lot takes about 3/4 of an acre, at least that portion which is assigned to the police department. That includes the building and the parking. And of that, about 2.4 acres consists of the entire City Hall complex. And the paving itself there, if you've been familiar with it, has a lot of different trenches that have been filled in over time. It has a lot of cracks and fissures and is collapsing in many different areas and is obviously in need of replacement. The roofing itself appears to be original. The stair dimensions and egress we'll talk about as far as the requirements for moving forward with accreditation. And the original elevator, of course, was there since the building was constructed. The air handlers themselves are 4 on the roof and 2 in the mechanical space. They're in badly need of replacement and at or near their useful life. Chilled water piping, which comes from the air handlers from the 2 air conditioners. All the piping suffers from severe condensation, and all that's going to have to be replaced. Domestic hot water tank, of course, is going to need to be replaced as well. Lighting is a combination of LED as well as some of the original lighting. So looking at all of that, we also found that the ventilation is quite poor in the building itself. In particular, the cybercrime department has some significant cooling issues, and there are some lower-level moisture issues in the building itself. We've estimated at least $1 million worth of renovations just for the building itself as it sits in its current condition. And again, that's just the existing conditions of the building. And I think our discussion this evening, Doug's going to be presenting the entire space needs analysis for purposes of getting it through the accreditation process.
See if you can hear me over this. Here we go. So looking at the space analysis, when we look at it against CALIA standards and what we see at other police departments, there are spatial adjacencies in the building which are a concern. One major one is the Sally Port and bringing prisoners through the actual police station, not prisoners, but detainees down to the booking area, which is in the lower level. We usually don't see that much of a distance between the Sally Port and booking areas. Existing corridors are narrow and small. Sally Port is also shared with the service and storage areas in the police department, so there could be a safety issue there with just regular employees there when they're trying to bring a detainee out of a vehicle. Again, transfer detainees through the building to the lower level. Booking safety in the lower level has some issues going on because it's really designed as it was built in the 1970s, so there's some observation issues. There's also a console that's kind of in the middle of an area, which is a little bit of a hazard and a concern. The public lobby is small, lacks a public restroom, so therefore they have to let folks from the lobby into the station in order to use the restroom. Dispatch office should really have a supervisor's office and a dedicated restroom so that they don't have to leave the dispatch office. Public interview room is not private, it's in a main thoroughfare there right off the lobby. Patrol reporting is too small for the number of duty officers that they have. The women's locker room is small and not private. It's actually directly adjacent to the fitness room that all the officers use. The public service functions such as anything having to do with juveniles or domestic issues, those functions are very remote from the main entry of the building. They actually have to go upstairs and go to basically the back of the building to the 3rd floor, and they should be closer to the main lobby. Detective offices are too small, lacking privacy. Computer crimes office is small and lacks security. They really need 3 spaces to ensure that whatever they're investigating is protected. No office space in the building for prosecutors. They're in a remote location now that is being leased. Training room's too small and in the wrong location from the public access. It would be better if it was closer to the main floor. Right now it's on the 3rd floor, and everybody that comes from a another location for training. It has to go through the whole station to get up there. Evidence storage is woefully inadequate. It's basically a mezzanine in the middle of the garage that is enclosed with basically wire walls and plywood and things like that. The majority of restrooms are not handicap accessible. So we did do a program space analysis when we looked at this. So we have existing columns. This is just one sheet out of the whole program. This is about 4 pages long. But it gives you, at the top, it gives you the suggested square footage based on the program review. So basically, they probably could use an additional 6,000 square feet. But in addition to that, it's working out all those adjacency issues, because right now it's very poor. Also, so we did look at some locations in town for actually looking at the existing site, and then also other locations. Review of existing site and possible other locations performed. Lack of available sites within close proximity to the downtown area. So there weren't a lot of sites that we could spot that could fit the station as it needs to be, along with its parking and everything. The existing site has issues such as shared parking with other city departments. Existing parking is unable to serve all of the department staff. They also have incident vehicles that are out there in the lot that really should be covered or in a garage, because they have to keep them shoveled with the snow shoveled off of them in the wintertime so that they're ready to go when they need them. Pedestrians traverse the parking lot also to get to Green Street gym and things, which is a little bit of a hazard when they're moving through the lot quickly. And then also squad cars are also crossing the public sidewalks as they leave. And another thing with the Sally Port, they have to back out of the Sally Port onto a public street, which can also be hazardous with the sidewalks. So this was just a planning test that we did on a certain lot in town that was basically already owned by the city. It's not an ideal location, and it's actually over off of Airport Road. But really, this is a planning test just to look at all the adjacencies that need to happen between the space requirements, and looked at, detective areas, patrol areas, administrative functions, as well as evidence storage areas and vehicle bays and things like that. And really, it was just a test to verify that that program that we calculated fits with the basically 28,000 square feet that we had, and it kind of worked out. It's a little more. So then we looked at renovating and adding on to the existing station, and we didn't really think this was going to work out, but it actually kind of did. So what we did, the existing lot has a 15-foot setback. And so on the School Street side, we went all the way to the setback, putting a very thin addition along that side, but then also putting an addition along the back of the station in order to provide those vehicle bays that we need separated from the Sally ports. And then we were able to incorporate the booking area in the center of the first floor, and where we had the vehicle bays prior, and also able to rework the dispatch areas in the front and provide a training room down on the first floor. The evidence storage moved from the mezzanine over the existing vehicle bays down to the lower level. There are issues with moisture down there, so if we ever attempted to do this, we would really need to address the moisture down there and make sure that we don't have any issues where we're sacrificing the evidence. And if you look on the first floor and third and the second floor, that red dashed line that's on the left side, that kind of represents the perimeter of the existing building on the left side. The second floor right now is only that lower portion in blue at the bottom, and that whole purple area, that's presently that mezzanine that's constructed for the evidence storage. So we'd infill that with real floor framing and slab, and then create those locker room and exercise spaces. And then we could also incorporate additional patrol offices in the rear over the vehicle bays. And then the third floor basically stays in the similar configuration, but we gain that additional office space at the rear and enlarge the detective offices back there. The other thing that's kind of funky, the way that the existing building is designed, there's something called remoteness when you're designing a building of stair towers. And the existing building technically meets the definition of remoteness, but those two stair towers are very forward in the building. So that whole rear third floor that was constructed for the fire department back in '86, there's no stair at the back of that. So if anything was ever to happen in that front corridor that hinders access to both of those stairs, then you're kind of stuck in that back wing. So another thing that we were trying to do is solve that issue by adding that third stair tower to the back. And I guess that's it. I don't know if we have any questions.
So, Council and Mayor Boulay, so one of the things that obviously was our charge was to make sure that the station planning that Doug was just describing to everyone actually meets the current accreditation criteria, which it does. It still leaves the city with the issues of parking, of course, which is a perennial issue in and around the complex. And we did take a look at the cost as well to do this on a per square foot basis, just to have some idea of what it would cost. And that came up to...
So the renovation cost as a construction budget came up at about $9 million, and then as a project budget, you know, we always add for soft costs. I think we were at 10.5, and I have to look at my notes for the other one. It's moving.
Chief, you want to talk a little bit about the accreditation process and where the police would like to be?
Yeah, so we've talked at the Public Safety Advisory Board about accreditation. That's been a topic the last couple of years with the Governor's Commission, the LEAC Commission. So we have start and stopped accreditation projects for the past 30 years. Where we always seem to run into is the physical structure itself. We would not be able to pass, especially with the booking room. The manner in which we bring detainees into the department. So our policies are all in alignment with CALEA. We are committed to that if we remedy our building, we would pursue CALEA. We're also going to, the state police academy is looking to launch a statewide accreditation process, so would be interested in taking a look at that as well.
So these are numbers from last, from the last, no. When did we issue this? Summer of 21? July 15 of 21. Okay, so this is last summer. So we had a 8 to 8.5 of construction costs for the renovation, and as a project cost, we were at 10 to 10.5 million. For a new building and site, we were looking at 8.7 to 9.2 for a project cost, and for a construction cost, and 10.7 to 11.2 for a project cost. And this doesn't include any costs associated with land acquisition. We do also suggest getting a construction manager involved if we do want to take a hard look at this, because we've seen construction costs grow exponentially this year.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time and gave us a whole lot to think about, that's for sure. Who has questions for these gentlemen? Council Peters.
Does the existing building Would the existing building support a fourth floor?
We don't believe it will unless we provide an exoskeleton to the structure itself, which would be quite disruptive and costly, of course.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One.
Council Keach.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I look at the lower level, there's a big piece that's absent. It looks like holding cells, or is that, what is that part?
Big piece that's absent.
Page you on?
You're saying what you
Just
had
had on
the
the screen.
You had it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Lower level, it's blank, so I'm not clear what that is.
This here, this is the evidence storage area. Right now, it's police locker rooms, and then the booking area comes down through here.
No, but the white part.
This
Yes.
is unexcavated.
Okay, thank you.
Right. This is the only section of the lower level.
Anyone else?
A few quick questions, Jerry. Is there any requirement on the CALEA at all for the building to be, particularly in the downtown atmosphere, to be separated from traffic, from the public rights of way at all? I'm thinking in terms of, remember when we went through this with the courthouses around, so you couldn't drive a vehicle through the front door, or drive a vehicle right up to the window dispatch or something like that. Is there any type of requirement that you guys are aware of that there should be a 20-foot separation or some sort of?
I don't know, I'd have to check on that. I think that they are looking for, your abilities to be able to access emergency corridors throughout the city. And,
I was thinking in terms of security of the building itself from, in this day and age, as a capital city.
like the security of the building.
Right.
I think that they do have some requirements for security, which we have in place right now.
Okay, so, right, exactly. So the other part, Jerry, you mentioned the lack of parking. So of course, that would be lack of secure parking for the fleet and for staff, right? So do you have any idea how many spots that would be? How many?
We don't offhand, but we do know it's shared parking at this point in time.
Right.
And so some of that shared parking will have to disappear and
Right.
be assigned to the police department and probably fenced in as well
Okay.
for security reasons.
And the last question I had, is there an opportunity to look at the space we're currently in right now? Being the building's physically connected to the police department, I wonder if we could do anything.
This building?
I wonder if we should look at.
Here.
We'll find another place for the city council. So, yeah, I mean, so, if we were to remove community development or find another place for city council to have meetings, because this space really is not the most opportune space for the city council either. I was wondering if we took over this too, in conjunction with the additional space that you're looking at.
Right.
Could this be renovated?
We'd have to look at it, but I'm thinking that the 2 floors might handle the square footage need, but we'd have to look at how it arranges in the adjacency.
And possibly going out into the front yard too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a number of ways, if we wanted to stay in this location. I'm not.
The other thing is, they're not physically connected, they're only connected in the means, in the way that there are mechanical units between them. So we could also change that arrangement
Right.
and then attach that way or something, and provide more square footage that way as well.
Okay, so there are other options. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We also took a look at the option of providing a newer building on the west side of the existing, connecting the two.
Yeah.
And then that gets into all campus master planning.
Right.
And utilizing the existing police station for offices from the city, et cetera. So
Okay.
we did have that discussion, but certainly it's a much larger discussion in terms of master planning for the city's campus.
I think just based on the report that was given right at the beginning by the chief, I think when the city built the police station, they knew they were not building what they needed to build at the time, and took quite a few shortcuts. And now, after 50 years, they've all manifest themselves. They manifest themselves 20 years ago, but we're having to deal with that now. So I was thinking, if we're going to do something, we should do something for the next 50 years, not the next 20.
Councilor Todd? I'll wait till you use that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, actually, the city manager's last comment was really my question, which is, first of all, thank you for your report. Very thorough, and we really appreciate it. But what is the projection going forward in terms of rebuilding this facility or a new facility with the square footage that you have suggested here in terms of fulfilling the needs of the police department in years forward? Are we talking about 50 years, 20 years, 30 years? Is there any estimate on that at all, or?
We did look at that based on the accreditation requirements, and we felt, at least at the time, Doug, if you recall our discussion on number of years, was something the order of at least 20?
Yeah, 20 to 30. I mean, it really depends on the employee population growth, and we talked about that a couple times. And you know, the area of the city is what it is, and the coverage is what it is, so we didn't think it was going to grow terribly much. But back to the rear parking lot thing, we did rework the parking lot and just dedicated it strictly to police, and it doesn't come near close to accommodating the police staff back there either. So.
Follow up, Your Honor? Sure. That's kind of what I was wondering also in terms of if we do add staff, and that was what I was thinking about, would we be able to accommodate that? So, but if we were looking at a new location, which seems like the only other option, of course, to be able to build even bigger than what is being proposed, let's say, were there any locations that you had looked at, or and maybe this is a question for Chief Osgood, that you would consider to be appropriate for the location?
Well, at the time that this H.L. Turner did this study, there was no available sites. I would have really liked the Employment Security Building on South Main Street.
Couldn't afford it.
So, you know, we can sit here today and say there's nothing available, but that can change tomorrow.
We mentioned in the report that again, we looked at that test site that we had, and then we also mentioned the lot that's catty corner to the fire offices. I guess there's a Santander bank there now or something. There's the possibility that lot could have fit, but that was the only thing that was getting close to downtown.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Champlin.
Thank you, Your Honor, and let me add my thanks for the report, and I'm sorry I interrupted it with some of my coughing. Chief, you mentioned that the Safety Committee has been looking at this, and not everyone in the audience or at home may remember what LEAC is, and may not understand the importance of certification. Could you kind of explain that? Why is it important for us to receive certification?
So the governor, during discussions of police reform in 2020, set up a commission to study, law enforcement in New Hampshire, accountability and transparency. And one of the 48 points that was recommended by the commission and he approved, one of them was that police departments in New Hampshire should seek national accreditation. Police departments typically that have national accreditation fare much better when in civil lawsuits, civil litigation. And it just holds the police departments to an elevated standard. It's not a one and done. It's something that you achieve, and then you constantly have to be re-accredited every year or every 3 years. So there's only approximately 13 police departments in New Hampshire that meet that level right now. And I think the capital city, we should be able to achieve that.
Follow up, Your Honor. And my understanding from what your earlier testimony is that our Concord Police Department stacks up extremely well in terms of being able to be certified, except for our physical space limitations and the problems created by the current space, correct?
Correct. Our policies that we have are all based off of the CLIA standard, the formatting and the language in them. So it's just really the physical structure that we would
Thank you,
looking
Chief.
at.
Thank you.
Councilor Keats, do you have something?
Thank you. Yes, just briefly. I guess there's two comments. One is I think it's probably a mistake to squeeze a new police station in the existing space. It just, I mean, it can probably be done, but at a lot of cost and not the most efficient use of the space. And I do have a suggestion on Clinton Street where some of the older people around the table will remember where the state police communication tower is over there. It's wide open, pretty convenient to the downtown. I mean, maybe that's an opportunity. I don't know, but
We've actually recently talked about that with the conversation about having the middle school heading over across the street. And so we've actually started discussing
good.
Clinton Street.
I just think squeezing a police station on this space is just, it can be done, but I think the city manager probably wants to expand his campus.
I think you'd be making so many compromises to do that, and if you ever wanted to bring the prosecutor's office home, have that back located with staff, I could see the police department really staffing up with more than just, and they do that now, with more than just uniformed officers. There'd be, there'd be psychologists, there'd be social workers, I mean, the police department itself is going to evolve over the next 50 years. And I think we need to prepare ourselves for that in a good way.
Additional opportunities,
That's right.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
Just really briefly, I just want to thank the chief for all of his work and over the years to try to seek certification. I know it's been a point of frustration that we are certainly meeting all best practices in terms of the policy component, and this is the one piece that is really holding us back. So, this is just not an ideal situation for staff or for the public. So I just wanted to commend you and thank you to the Turner Group for all of your work on this. I hope that we can continue to make this a priority.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just, anybody else? Two quick questions. So the numbers that you put in the presentation, for the renovations or new, et cetera, the date on the presentation was a year ago. Are those numbers relatively, okay, so the numbers are good then, got it?
Yeah.
And then the second question is, in terms of, I think the questioning was really helpful, but I just want to be clear. So let's assume that you could go anywhere in the city. What is an ideal location? In other words, I was surprised, not disappointed, but I was surprised that you would consider something more towards even the Clinton Street, kind of further out. Are there any particular demands upon the department that you should be here or not here, that type of thing?
I think you want to be in an area where you can access all parts of the city equally at the same rate, okay? So like downtown, we can get to 93, we can get to 393, we can get up to Pennacook by North State, and then we're in the middle of things. We have the hospital, we have the high school, we have the state hospital, the prison's not far. Just across the street is the Heights. Downtown, that's our bread and butter for our community policing, right? So we're right in the heart of where we want to be. The further out you go, the harder it is to access all of those major roads, and the further you become away from the community, that dense community downtown. I would consider, I think that if the Langley Parkway discussion continues and you start to see development, westerly on Clinton Street, I wouldn't go too far beyond that, but and I wouldn't go too far up North State Street. I wouldn't go down too far, like down by where the existing school is. I'd want to stay away from a residential neighborhood. I know this is a residential neighborhood, but we test our sirens and stuff in the middle of the night, and that can be an inconvenience for the neighbors.
It's almost like where the fire department headquarters is, kind of at the crossroads, if you will, of north-south, east-west.
Yep, that would be an ideal location as well.
I think we also talked about that it's nice because to have pedestrian access to the station as well, because some folks just don't have cars and they still need to access the police department.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Just want to make sure everybody else seen that. Really appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Mr. Blanchett. It's always good to see you.
Yes, sir. You as well.
Takes us to our consent agenda this evening. I removed item 28, so if you want to just put that down, we'll come back to that. But can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. I will simply note for the record that item 25, which is dealing with diminished gifts, donation to the police department. Item 32, which is resolution dealing with New Hampshire Safe Neighborhoods Initiative Grant Program. And item 33, which is regarding police department submit application regarding bulletproof vests that Council Brown has recused herself for those three items. So with that, we have a motion to adopt. Is there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Consent agenda is adopted. Takes us to our public hearings this evening, and Madam Clerk, item 35A, please.
Yes, it's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title I General Code, Chapter 15, Licensing and Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Occupations, Article 15-8, Peddlers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
Members of the council, Mr. Bahia, will do a brief presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening, Your Honor,
How
members.
was your drive?
I'm sorry?
How was your drive?
This is long, but okay. Thank you for
Welcome
asking.
back.
Thank you. Good evening again. Thank you for having me here tonight. So, here to talk about the Peddlers Ordinance rewrite that's before you this evening. As the councilors will know, as part of the functions of the Ad hoc Outdoor Dining and Food Truck Committee, one of their tasks was to work to revamp the Peddlers Ordinance. What you have before you is largely housekeeping issues, just to bring the ordinance up to date with contemporary practices that we see. But probably the most significant change is the committee was really focused on creating a provision to allow for food trucks, which has been something that's been talked about in Concord for several years now. And so the ordinance includes a section on that. It would put the regulation of food trucks under the jurisdiction of the Code Administration Office, particularly the Health and Licensing Bureau, which is what regulates most of the license activities in Concord today. The preliminary rules associated with that are included in your packet. Some of the highlights for the community. Food trucks would be allowed. They would have to sign up, in essence, to reserve a spot and put themselves in the queue for a permit. They'd have to sign up at least 1 week in advance over at the Code Administration Office. They wouldn't be able to sign up for more than 3 consecutive days at one location so that they wouldn't monopolize a certain spot. Food trucks would only be allowed to vend in non-residential zones, so they wouldn't be in neighborhoods, if you will. They'd be in places where there'd be commercial activity or industrial activity. In addition to getting a permit from code, they would also have to secure a parking encumbrance permit, because they would, if they're in the downtown area, for example, most of the spots in downtown are regulated by meters or their time zones, and so we'd want to make sure that those accommodations are made, and so they go to the police department and get their parking encumbrance permit for the day. And then the health and licensing officer would be able to sort of regulate food truck operations as we go. The rules that are in your packet are draft rules at this point. Because we anticipate this is the first time we've ever done it, there will probably be changes that will be needed to make as we go through and we learn from the experience. So that flexibility is built into this ordinance so that that could be addressed rather quickly. So in terms of vending from private property, because we've had some interest from food truck operators to do that as well, for example, at the Steeplegate Mall in their parking lot, they would be allowed to do that as well. Food truck operations on private property as drafted in the ordinance wouldn't be able to exceed 12 days in the calendar year or 5 consecutive days before they'd have to be reviewed. So if somebody wanted to do that, say they were a property owner and they wanted to have a food truck out there for more than 12 times a year, they would present a plan, if you will, to the code administrator and the health and licensing officer and the city planner. They'd look at those, what that might be in terms of impacts to the neighborhood. It could be traffic impacts, be noise, litter, whatever it might be. And then if they felt that there were significant impacts, the city planner could refer it to the planning board for review. And that was something that was important to the community, just to make sure that this new plan would not change the fabric, if you will, of certain neighborhoods in our community. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bailey, has any questions? Ms. Bouchard?
Thank you, Mayor. The existing seafood truck parks, I think, on Friday at Everett Arena, would any of this change how they operate?
I don't believe it would, because they actually are at the arena, so that's the city property, and they have there's a fee associated with that to the arena fund.
And the Home Depot that has, I think it's movable, but it's there all the time, kind of a food truck stand type of thing. Would this also affect that?
It would not, because that Home Depot site, that vendor in their parking lot actually went through the planning board process probably well over 2 decades ago, probably at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Chaplin?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bahia, I believe, looking at the proposed ordinance changes, that the fees for permitting food trucks was left in the hands of code. And I was at a meeting this morning, a planning meeting for Capital Arts Fest, and the issue of food trucks came up, and I mentioned the proposed changes, or in general, and it was pointed out to me, or it was expressed to me, that the fees, the level of the fees, act as an inhibitor for getting food trucks in Concord. I was wondering whether there was any discussion on the committee about the level of the fees for food trucks.
Counselor, actually, you're correct. So that is within the purview of the health and licensing officer. And we have come up with some draft fees at this point that we actually shared with the committee recently, because we've been working on trying to get something that would not be an inhibitor to having this program be successful. We wanted something that was simple. We realized that the food trucks have to get a food license, and they also have to get a peddler's license. And typically in the past, those would be 2 separate fees, and they could be pricey. So we're trying to figure out a way to do sort of a combo, if you will. And so we are suggesting that a combination license for an entire calendar year, if you had a food truck who knew they were going to be in Concord multiple days throughout a calendar year, would be a combination license would include a Class 3 food service license as well as a peddler fee. And that would be a $350 seasonal or yearly, if you will, license. And that would be exclusive of the parking encumbrance permit. So whatever days they're going to be in downtown, they'd still have to get parking encumbrance permits for those specific days. If they were vendors from out of town who weren't sure how many days they were going to be here in Concord and felt like they'd rather just do it on a per diem basis, what we're suggesting at this point is a $65 per day per diem fee plus the parking encumbrance fee.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Pierce, do you want to add anything before we move to the public hearing?
I know the main purpose is to talk about the food trucks, but we did, there was some concern last time regarding outdoor dining and umbrellas, and we talked about that, and as Carlos has said, these rules are, we're putting them out there, we're gonna continue to meet, we're gonna continue to get feedback from the health and licensing officer and make changes as needed. As it was for the umbrellas, we have decided that we would allow, single color, but allow for branded for this year. One of the restaurateurs came in and spoke about, the hardship related to changes in seating and also having to now buy umbrellas. So some have already complied. It looks great. I love to see the single color umbrellas downtown, and we're going to continue to look at that over the summer, and I hope you'll all walk around and take a look and give feedback to the committee. But I think the committee's done a lot of good work with Carlos and Danielle's help, and I think it's going to work out.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll open the public hearing on this item. Is anybody wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and Madam Clerk, item 35B, please.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title V Administrative Code, Chapter 34, Personnel Rules and Regulations for Military Leave.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
And our members of the council, the purpose of this is to change the tracking of military leave from a federal fiscal year to the city's fiscal year, to clarify the city does provide pay differential for up to 15 days per fiscal year. The city adheres to the Uniform Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, which is requires the leave to participating military members. Using the federal fiscal year instead of utilizing the city's year creates confusion when tracking and administering this matter.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the manager? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 35C, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of $36,359 and repurposing $9,241 to purchase a tracked cross-country trail groomer and authorizing the use of $36,359 of equipment reserve funds for this purpose.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
And our members of the council, in the fall of 2020, the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee and the Golf Course Advisory Committees, along with city staff, recommend the city work with the cross-country ski community to help fundraise money to purchase a snow rabbit for use at the Beaver Meadow Golf Course. At the November 2020 City Council meeting, a report was accepted to work with Ski the Beaver Group to raise 50% of the cost to buy a tracked groomer. In fiscal year 20, CIP 515, there was $50,000 approved, but our fund is we needed to have private match dollars. Working with Ski the Beaver Group, the Holderness School, in the Holderness School, we've identified a gently used 2017 groomer we'd like to purchase for $91,200. City staff and Parks and Recreation Department and the Beaver Meadow Golf Course, including our mechanics, have inspected the machine and reviewed the maintenance and operation. All of the equipment is used. It's extremely well cared for. It is almost new condition. Similar units from dealers would be between $130,000 to $160,000. In addition to paying half the cost to buy the machine, the Ski the Beaver Group has agreed to set aside $50,000 of the donations in non-lapsing maintenance reserve account that can be used for repairs of the machine, plus $3,000 to share with the city to buy a container to store the machine. The overall city cost of Concord investment would be $48,600. The overall investment for the cross-country ski community would be $53,600. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, seeing that, we'll open the public hearing on this item. Anybody wishing to testify? Snow rabbit. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you guys for taking this on. My name is Joe Ayotte. I've been a Concord resident for 34 years and have done a lot of volunteer coaching and skiing at Beaver Meadow and elsewhere around Concord. I just want to say that I'm very excited about the public-private partnership that we seem to have going here, and the overwhelming and diverse community support for purchasing this machine is evidenced by the outpouring of funds from private citizens as well as from businesses in the community. Has been fantastic. So I appreciate you all taking this matter up tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 35D, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of $11,820 to continue the work of reducing energy usage at the Combined Operations and Maintenance Facility and accepting the sum of $11,820 from the Unitil NH Saves Energy Efficiency Incentive Grant Program.
Much, Mr. Manager.
And members of the council, we've completed the LED lighting replacement project at the conf and recommend that you accept the funds.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 35E, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of $8,500 for the purpose of updating the stormwater pollution prevention plan at the airport, accepting the sum of $7,650 in grant funds from the Federal Aviation Administration, accepting the sum of $425 from the state of New Hampshire, and appropriating and authorizing the use of $425 of airport fund balance as a transfer out from the airport fund.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
Nothing to add, Your Honor.
Does anybody have any questions regarding this item? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 35F, please.
It's a resolution readopting the benefits plan and authorizing the city manager to execute benefits plan documents.
Mr. Manager.
Your Honor, members of the council, you do this on an annual basis. I recommend approval.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the manager? Seeing none, anybody wish to testify on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And last but not least, item 35G, please.
It's a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation concerning acquisition of discontinued portions of the Northern Maine Railroad located between Horseshoe Pond Lane and the Kentucky River for the purposes of developing the Merrimack River Greenway Trail.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
And our members of the council, for years, the community has documented a variety of city master plans, has desired to the extent of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail north to the northern trail located in Bosquen. When completed, the approximately 12.7 miles of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail will be located in Concord as detailed on the map that you have provided to you. To implement this vision, the city established CIP 543, the Merrimack River Greenway Trail project, within the capital improvement program. Over the past decade or so, the city has been working with the Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail and have secured grants to design and construct limited portions of the trail within the vicinity of Terrell Park and Loudon Road. Those efforts are ongoing. When completed, the Merrimack River Greenway Trail will create significant benefits for Concord residents, including but not limited to improved livability, quality of life, intermodal connectivity of neighborhoods, as well as preservation of access to open space. In addition, the trail will likely result in new economic development opportunities for the community. A memorandum of agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation to acquire the Northern Main Line has been established. Immediately following the state's decision to enact their right of first refusal, the city and the New Hampshire Department of Transportation entered into negotiations to establish a partnership as permitted under RSA 22860B2 to acquire that portion of the Northern Main Line corridor located between Horseshoe Pond Lane and Kentucky River. The negotiations were successful and have resulted in the attached memorandum of understanding, which you have. A draft of the proposed purchase and sales agreement is also attached. Once finalized and approved by the Governor and Executive Council, as well as Pan Am, the New Hampshire Department of Transportation will execute the new purchase and sales agreement and immediately assign it to the city. Once assigned, the city shall resume and complete its pre-purchase due diligence activities, which were previously suspended in October 2021 due to the state's Right of First Refusal Act. The city shall complete the due diligence at its sole expense. Upon closing, the city shall solely hold title to the property. Upon acquisition of the property, the city, in accordance with the MOA, shall have the unilateral authority to develop a rail trail at the property, as well as exclusive rights to regulate, operate, and manage the premises as it so desires. Based on the due diligence completed to date, city administration has not identified any significant items of concern that could, at this juncture, derail the city's purchase. That's Matt's word. He used that word. Covenant to the state. Due to the terms of the memorandum of agreement, the city, upon closing, shall grant the state a covenant to protect its long-term interests associated with the rail corridor in accordance with the RSAs. The covenant shall run with the land in perpetuity. In accordance with the RSAs, should the state desire to acquire any portion of the corridor from the city shall be entitled to either a refund of contribution or replacement of land. In May, so tonight is your meeting in the public hearing for the proposed memorandum of agreement. We anticipate the Governor and Executive Council meeting on June 29th and a closing date of September 30th of 2022. As far as the budget goes, on June 14, 2021, the City Council, under Resolution 9380, which appropriated the sum of $700,000 to finance acquisition of the segment of the Northern Line and related expenses. Currently, $526,500 remains available. This amount is sufficient to cover the $431,500 purchase price, the remaining due diligence activities, and closing costs. The city benefits are as follows. This allows the city to proceed with the acquisition of the Northern Railroad to develop the Merrimack River Greenway Trail as originally planned at no additional cost to the city taxpayers. It affords the city sole control over the future development of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, as well as operation and management of the property once acquired. In the event the state desires to acquire any portion of the city property in the future, the covenant associated therewith adequately protects city taxpayers' interest to ensure that the Merrimack River Green Trail, as it may exist at that time, is preserved and replaced at no cost to the city, or two, that the city receives fair market value from the property from the state. The future extension of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail will facilitate the connectivity and access to 395 acres of conservation land, 330 acres of city-owned property, including the Beaver Meadow Golf Course, as well as 339 acres of other state-owned property. It will enhance the intermodal connectivity between the Concord downtown, Pennacook Village, and the Heights, expand recreational opportunities for all city residents, and generate economic development opportunities that benefit the city. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the manager? Great. Seeing that, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify on this item? Okay. Good evening, welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Kelly Ovid-Puck. I'm the chair of the Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail.
And I'm Dick Lemieux. I'm the president of the Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail. So thank you for having us, Mayor Belay, members of the council, Mr. Manager, and Madam Clerk. We have been waiting for about 5 years for this evening. In March of 2017, the corridor was discontinued, as the manager said. In October of 2018, Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail financed the city's portion of the appraisal for the corridor that's being considered tonight, a sum of $3,250. We want to make sure that you still remember that we paid for the appraisal. In March of 2021, we helped the city staff prepare an application for a $1 million Transportation Alternatives Program grant to help pay for a $1.35 million first phase construction project. That application has been successful. The application is currently sitting in the Department of Transportation's 10-year plan, which should be approved by the Hampshire Senate, the last step in the process, by the end of June. So we're looking forward tonight to, in the meantime, I should say, we have raised over $380,000 toward this trail, which shows a significant public interest. That amount has been donated by over 350 individuals, companies, and organizations. So tonight, we're looking ahead for the Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail is looking forward to, first, the city finally owning the corridor by the end of September. Hopefully, on October 1st, the day after the city purchases it, we'd like to see the design and the permitting for the corridor begun using the Transportation Alternatives Program grant. That would lead, hopefully, in our minds, to construction beginning in June of 2024, and a ribbon cutting in the spring of 2025. So, am I being too optimistic? You tell me. So, with that said, we are looking 5 years back to when this process began, and hopefully in 3 years we'll have a ribbon cutting. That's all I have to say.
I think between what City Manager described and what Dick just said, you've heard it all. This is definitely a win-win-win. The public's winning here, the state is winning here, the city's winning here. This is an incredible outcome. Our board has worked really hard. Some of us have been working at this since maybe the beginning of time.
I believe I was there.
Not quite so long. Most of you have heard Dick and I come before you before and make an appeal, and I'm just really proud of all the efforts that have been put forth by the city, the support that we've had, and the ability of everybody to come together to really achieved something amazing. So thank you all. And we hope we continue to work with the city going forward and make this a reality.
Thank you very much, both of you. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none. Appreciate you coming out tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors, city manager. My name is Jim Hours, and I'm vice chair of the Concord Conservation Commission. And we do support the resolution tonight to allow the city manager to sign the contracts that are needed to purchase the Pan Am Rail Trail. I would just point out that you already approved this on June 14, 2021. And what happened is the state came in and decided to exercise its right of first refusal, so we went all the way back and started all over again. So we're about a year behind as a result of that, but fortunately tonight we are, I think, finally at the point where if we give the authority tonight, we can finally get moving on this project. And just to make clear, the area that we're talking about is just the rail trail from Horseshoe Pond Lane up to the Kentucky River. So it's 5.8 miles. That's at issue tonight. A few things have happened since the June meeting, which I think are important. The first is that the Friends of the Northern Rail Trail were able to close a gap of about 0.6 miles on the Bosco and Pennacook town line. So you will, when this project is completed, have a 65-mile rail trail starting right from here all the way to Lebanon and the Connecticut River, which is pretty impressive. We also, in October, got the Concord Trails Plan, which was done through the Regional Planning Commission and has been approved by the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board, and they recommend that we purchase the rail trail. They also describe it as it's a accessible trail serving bicyclists, wheelchairs, walkers, and joggers of all abilities. It would also form a long-standing desire for Concord to better connect to the Merrimack River. So that study was also completed. I would point out that at your June meeting, you also approved the funding for this project, so that is not an issue tonight. And I would point out that $600,000 of this is coming out of the conservation bond. This is only the third project in 18 years that the City Council and Conservation Commission have gone together to approve. The other one was Diamond Hill, and the second was Broken Ground, and we view this project as certainly equally important as those two were. I can't anticipate all the testimony we're going to get tonight, but the last hearing in June, there was a group from Prospect Street, which is an area down near Horseshoe Pond. They were concerned about the Concord to Lake Sunapee portion of the rail trail, but my understanding is that as a result of finding some title problems to that land, the city is not going to, it's not part of, in any event, it's not part of the transaction tonight. Whether that can ever be resolved, I don't know, but it's not part of the resolution you're considering tonight. That does have one wrinkle to it, and that is that the $100,000 of the money that was appropriated in June was going to go to that project. So I am hoping that you will give that money back to the, which came out of the Conservation Trust Fund. I see Mr. Aspel smiling, and I'm hoping he's going to do that. So in any event, I'm sorry that that portion of the project didn't work out because it's important to another rail trail group, but in any event, that's the status of the project, and there certainly aren't going to be any complaints from those residents because the main line, which you're dealing with tonight, is on the other side of Horseshoe Pond. We also heard from a group, the Scenic Rail Riders. You may be familiar with the fact that they are operating a pedal bike concession on the rails, which are still down right now. They were quite concerned that they were going to be removed, and one of the, sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. In any event, they were concerned that they were going to be not have access to the rails anymore, which is probably going to be true at some point in the future. But the memorandum that's going to be signed expressly requires that we take the property subject to their lease. which does not expire until June 6, 2024. So there have been some proposals I read in the Monitor where people have suggested, can we have a rail and trail? I think that would certainly require a feasibility study to show whether that's even possible. But in any event, you have 2 years to do that. And, but the important thing tonight is that we get this thing moving finally, which we, again, strongly support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, appreciate you coming out tonight. Thanks much. Anyone else? Okay, all set? Thank you very much. With that, we will close the hearing. And Madam Clerk brings us to our action phase. Item 36, please.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title I General Code, Chapter 15 Licensing and Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Occupations for peddlers.
Motion made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? I just simply wanted to note that appreciate the work of the committee. Spent a lot of time really kind of peeling this all back to make it happen, to bring the city kind of up to date with what's going on in the rest of the world. Also, I thank the staff who spent a lot of time putting this together and helping the committee. Council Champlin, I think the committee heard loud and clear the issue of pricing, and I think there's a real effort to make sure that it's accessible for all. But as Councilor Pierce indicated, it's kind of a moving target, and we're going to do our best we can. And I'm sure if there's issues, I'm sure bring them back, and then we can make those adjustments.
Thank you, Your Honor.
With that, is there anyone else? Seeing none, ready for the question, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Madam Clerk, item 37, please.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title V Administrative Code, Chapter 34 Personnel Rules and Regulations for military leave.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion is adopted. Madam Clerk, item 38, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of $36,359 and repurposing $9,241 to purchase a tracked cross-country trail groomer and authorizing the use of $36,359 of equipment reserve funds for this purpose.
Move approval. Second.
Second.
Motion made, second to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Council Chamberlain.
Thanks, Your Honor. I think this is a great deal for the city. This is a great opportunity. Last week, Councilor Brown and I took a tour of the NHTI greenhouse and the community gardens, and were gently lobbied in favor of this because of the opportunities that it provides for recreation. And it's a great way to make Beaver Meadow a year-round recreational facility. So thank you to everybody who's worked so hard on this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just like to underscore how much we appreciate the community and what you've done to do this. It's already a great asset. You're making it much, much better. So thank you for all your efforts. With that, we're ready for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Having received necessary 2/3, the motion is approved. Madam Clerk, item 39, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of $11,820 to continue the work of reducing energy usage at the Combined Operations and Maintenance Facility and accepting the sum of $11,820 from Unitil NH Saves Energy Efficiency Incentive Grant Program.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Move approval. Second.
Motion made, second to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, ready for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I've received necessary 2/3, the motion is adopted. Madam Clerk, item 40, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of $8,500 for the purpose of updating the stormwater pollution prevention plan at the airport, accepting the sum of $7,650 in grant funds from the Federal Aviation Administration, accepting the sum of $425 from the state of New Hampshire, and appropriating and authorizing the use of $425 of airport fund balance as a transfer out from the airport fund.
Thank you very much.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made, second to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Have received necessary 2/3, the motion is adopted. Madam Clerk, before I recognize you to read item 41, I would simply note that Councilor Brown has recused herself from this item. With that, item 41, please.
It's a resolution readopting the Beneflex plan and authorizing the city manager to execute Beneflex plan documents.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, second to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, motion is adopted. Madam Clerk, item 42, please.
It's a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation concerning acquisition of discontinued portions of the Northern Maine Railroad located between Horseshoe Pond Lane and the Kentucky River for the purposes of developing the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, CIP number 543.
Much.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I almost feel like I should recognize Dick Lemieux to make the motion here. Motion made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Takes us to unfinished business. We are leaving that there, I believe, until next month. We had one item removed. That would be item 28.
Yes. It was removed from the consent agenda by Mayor Boulay. It's a report from the Fiscal Policy Advisory Committee and follow-up to the City Council referral, the Ad hoc Gully Hill Road Committee report regarding lease of farmland on Gully Hill.
Thank you very much. I would just ask, simply would ask to move this to the, to next month. And the reason for that, I think if you all go back and look at the minutes that we approved this evening, Councilor Kretovic asked if she could be here when we took action on this. I had asked the manager at that time if waiting 1 month would be harmful. He said no. I think that the other part that I would love to have in combination with the fiscal policy is the minutes for the Conservation Commission, who also discussed it. I think, remember, we talked about that night. They were meeting the following Wednesday, or that Wednesday. So the ideally would have this along with the Conservation Commission minutes, and everybody would be able to be present. So that's, I just simply ask you to put it off until June.
Is that a tabling motion, Your Honor?
I was hoping you'd kind of do that.
Move to table number 28 until June. Thank you.
All right, motion made, seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you much. Okay, takes us to, I believe, comments, correct?
Yes, correct.
Anybody have anything you want to share, Councilor Todd?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm very pleased to announce that through the Pennacook Village Association and some volunteers, there will be a Memorial Day Parade in Pennacook for the first time in, nobody can remember how long, it's been a long time. And it'll be starting at 10 a.m. It'll be from the Merrimack Valley High School right down Village Street to the Monument Square. And starting at 10, as I said, and I hope that everyone has a chance to come out and enjoy it. And thanks to two great volunteers who really spearheaded this, Irene Ortega and Cindy Jakes, and the Pennacook Village Association also for helping out with this. Hopefully it will be a continuing event in Pennacook. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the consent calendar, item number 20, we voted in regarding accepting de minimis gift on behalf of the golf course. And what was behind that is, first of all, I want to thank you for voting that in. And this grant is the first of its kind in New Hampshire. Phil Davis, our golf pro, applied for this. And the grant comes from the New England PGA not-for-profit program, and it's targeted at youth, military families, and other diverse groups that may not otherwise have access to this activity. The nice thing about municipal golf courses is it allows municipalities to work with local organizations such as the Boys and Girls Club, Concord School District, to arrange for transportation, meals, and instruction. So I spoke with Phil today. He hopes that this continues to grow. It's a 3-year grant, and if it is successful, as they all believe it will be, it'll be ongoing and be done with sponsorships and so on and so forth. So thank you for the vote on that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councilor Brown.
I just want to recognize Tracy Lesser from NHTI and Ted Kenziora from the Fish and Wildlife, who gave myself, Councilor Champlin, Councilor Rice-Hawkins, and members of the Energy and Environment Committee a tour of their grounds and looking at some of the studies that they're doing to address climate. And it was a fascinating tour, and I hope that other members take advantage of that opportunity. What Tracy Lesser said was the hardest thing for some of the students to learn was that it was okay to be wrong based on their original assumptions, and that through collecting data, they could retool their thinking. So I thought that was very interesting. And I would like to let everyone know that there's an informational meeting at Bishop Brady Wednesday at 6:30 for information and data. It will be regarding the Langley Parkway Extension Phase 3.
Thank you very much. Councilor McNamara.
Friends of White Park will be having their bags and, I gotta think, cornhole?
Bags and bites.
Bags and Bites competition to raise money for the White Park Monkey Around Playground project. There will be food trucks there. It will be a good time, so if you can get out Sunday. What's the time on that?
I'm trying to remember.
I think it's in the morning it starts.
I think it's in the morning, yes.
10-ish. It's on their website, it's on the Facebook.
What's it called?
Bags. Bags and Bites?
Bags and bites, Your
Bags
Honor.
and Bites. Because there's food trucks, bags, it's a cornhole contest.
Gotcha. All right, now I got it. Okay.
That's it. So you come, you play cornhole, you get to enjoy one of our
Okay.
food trucks that we were talking about.
Totally with you now.
Yeah.
Just sure.
There's food there.
Yeah. So food and entertainment.
Yeah.
And White Park.
Mother Keach will have her bathroom open at 77 Washington Street, so
That's right.
everyone's welcome there.
The Madonna of White Park.
Mrs. Keach, he did not mean that. He apologizes.
I want to see the
Councilor
snow
Keach.
rabbit at some point, that's all. But, not tonight, but
There's pictures in here.
I saw her, but I want to see it in person, so
Yep.
I guess I should travel up
As
there.
soon as we get it up.
Okay, anything else? Mayor Pro
I
Tem.
just have a question on the community meeting being held at Bishop Brady High School on May 11th. Who is sponsoring that? I didn't see that on the flyer. So I reserved Bishop
Brown?
Brady. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yes,
all right.
thank you, Your
Not a
Honor.
recognition.
So I reserved the building, but it is for, my constituents have asked for that. Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Mayor Pro Tem.
The Concord, it is having a Memorial Day parade also. So you could go twice, one in Pennacook and in Concord. I believe it's Monday the 30th. And the route has changed this year. I'll be lining up at the St. John's Church and coming down to the Arches on Main Street. And be a little different parade, but we're marching down Main Street. And I hope everyone comes out for both parades and supports our service members and those who have sacrificed for this country.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you saying that. Anyone? Okay. I do have one bit of business before us. That is, we typically always reserve Mondays. I'd like to get together next Monday night to have the manager's review. We can complete that, I believe, in the evening. I propose 5:30 if that works. If that doesn't work, we can move it a little later, but we'll be doing it on Monday, which I guess would be next, the 16th. What time would you like it to be? 5:30, does that work?
Makes it easy to remember.
5:30.
Would you repeat that, Mr. Mayor? Are you saying-
Monday the 16th, next Monday, a week from today,
Mhm.
5:30, city manager's review.
Because FPAC has been canceled.
Yes. All set?
Was the ad hoc fee committee supposed to meet on Monday, I believe?
That has been canceled.
That's been canceled, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, excuse me, and are we meeting on the 12th? No. So the 16th will be our first budget meeting. Presentation.
No, the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the budget is delivered on the 12th.
Right.
Simply delivered. That's what you identified,
Right.
correct?
We don't have to, we're not, okay. Thank
So
you.
give you time to absorb it. by yourself.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was, pomp and circumstance.
No, the pomp and circumstance comes later.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr.
That's
Mayor,
the
no,
96-page PowerPoint presentation we usually get.
Can't wait.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you, I appreciate that. We'll see you, the next meeting we'll have then will be on the 16th, next Monday night. Anybody else have anything? Mr. Manager, do you have anything?
I just have one item. I just like, we went through the Merrimack River Greenway Trail project very quickly, and because we've been at it for so many years. But it was really the work of Matt Walsh for the last decade, probably, it felt like, putting this together. And from our perspective, the countless hours, weekends, nights that he spent to make that happen and work that deal out with the state it was just phenomenal work. So I just wanted to recognize him for that.
Your Honor, may I say that it's good that his hand was at the throttle?
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't it get done without Matt at it? working
Anybody
on
else have any puns they want to share? Okay, seeing none.
Kept it on the rails.
All right, we have no suspense items. We do have 2 items for non-public in accordance with RSA 91A:32D to discuss acquisition, sale, or lease of property, followed by a consultation with our legal counsel in accordance with RSA 91A:2, Roman 1B. So could I get a motion?
So moved. So moved.
Made to go into non-public, of course, 91A. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion adopted. If we could clear the room.
It's hard to